CNN never fails to deliver on giving us dumpster fire interviews.
When I was in high school, and by the way, well, I shouldn't go into it, and I've never failed. You can further reduce the deficit, which I've been able to reduce.
Fair warning, this is a pretty intense gaslighting session, so buckle up. I had to watch this interview several times with subtitles on just to try and understand what the Crypt Keeper was trying to say here. Don't worry folks, I will break down the BS. This interview ran for just over 16 minutes, and I'm obviously not going to play the whole thing here. But for full transparency, I will put a link of the interview in the description below. I'm going to try and keep this video short and just highlight the things I found crazy, funny, sad, and angering. This is going to be another great episode of Weekend at Biden's as he attempts to discuss issues like education, AI, economics, geopolitics, and the upcoming election. With 282,000 views, this video has a whopping 4,200 likes. That's 1.4%. I'm also willing to bet about 90% of those are CNN bot accounts trying to prop this dying network up. In November of 2021, YouTube decided to remove the dislike button. They should have just called it the Biden Protection Act because it helps this guy more than anyone else on planet Earth. Alright, enough nonsense. Let's take a look at what's happening in the old folks' home.
Why should people here believe that you will succeed at creating jobs where Trump failed?
He's never succeeded in creating jobs, and I've never failed. I've created over 15 million jobs since I've been president. 15 million.
I don't want to nitpick on this point too much, but is there a reason other than Trump that those jobs don't currently exist? Why aren't we asking the real question? Why aren't there 15,000 jobs under Biden's presidency? Instead, it's 1,000 jobs gained is a failure, even though Biden's been running the show for the last 3 years. No jobs? Really? Trump hasn't created any jobs ever? Has he never been to the Trump Hotel in Vegas or seen The Apprentice? And Biden's never failed? Ooh boy. 15 million, huh? I want you guys to pay close attention here. This is a staple of the political nonsense game.
Microsoft is a serious player, and they're very much engaged in making sure that they pick this area as sort of the home base for their AI initiative in the nation.
Where Biden is now leaning into Microsoft, who then immediately turns around and talks about how evil and greedy these billion-dollar corporations are.
You know, we got 1,000 billionaires in America. You know what their average federal tax is? 8.3%. It talks about if I want to raise it to 25%, that would raise $40 billion, $400 billion over 10 years. We can further reduce the deficit, which I've been able to reduce.
You know who's one of those 1,000 billionaires in America? Bill Gates. It's just more hypocrisy where they demonize corporations that they are in bed with.
When it comes, though, to the 100,000 jobs specifically that we're talking about here, people training in AI, the actual jobs, when are they actually going to have jobs, those 100,000 people that are being trained?
Beginning probably the first tranche in 3 to 4 years. The community colleges are going to, the one we're at, we're going to provide for 2,000 folks and to be able to be trained.
I love this question. Here, Aaron is asking about when these jobs will materialize for the 100,000 people being trained in AI. And Biden responds with 2,000 folks and 200 a year? What the hell is he talking about?
When I was in high school, and even at the tail end, very tail end before you went to high school, most public high schools had shop and home, learn to work with your hands. It doesn't exist anymore. And so it allows people who have skills and be able to train to technical skills to be able to make a decent living without a college degree. And it's what we need.
I feel bad for Erin here, and I don't. On one hand, she's a shill for the corrupt left. On the other, it's like she can't help her evil master who's ruining everything for the team. And the best part is, he starts talking about how high schools took blue-collar training out of schools, and how it's hurting everyone while he's supposed to be talking about how this Microsoft AI initiative is going to create more jobs. Holy shit, this conductor can barely keep this train from flying off the tracks. Moving on to economics, Aaron does come out and bluntly states that Americans know this economy is a complete pile of steaming dog crap.
When you talk about the economy, of course, it is by far the most important issue for voters. It's also true right now, Mr. President, that voters by a wide margin trust Trump more on the economy. They say that in polls. And part of the reason for that may be the numbers. And you're aware of many of these, of course. The cost of buying a home in the United States is double what it was when you look at your monthly costs from before the pandemic. Real income, when you account for inflation, is actually down since you took office. Economic growth last week, far short of expectations. Consumer confidence, maybe no surprise, is near a 2-year low. With less than 6 months to go to Election Day, are you worried that you're running out of time to turn that around?
And here comes the gaslighting, boys.
We've already turned it around. Look at the Michigan survey. We've For 65% of the American people think they're in good shape economically. They think the nation's not in good shape, but they're personally in good shape.
65% of people think they're doing okay? Even by his own crazy statistic that he just pulled out of his ass, 1/3 of Americans admit they are screwed, and those other 2/3 that think they're doing okay know the rest of the nation is screwed? Holy moly, let's just lower the bar so far that we can walk right over it.
The polling data has been wrong all along. How many, you guys do a poll at CNN, how many folks you have to call to get one response?
And now the polls are wrong. He is burning down CNN on CNN.
People were saying there's going to be a collapse of the economy. We have the strongest economy in the world. Let me say it again, in the world.
Anytime this guy says anything more than once, you know it's a lie. And the best part is, this interviewer literally blasts back with the current GDP situation.
Although GDP last week was far short of expectations.
Oh, it wasn't. Look, GDP is still growing. Look at the response of the markets. Overwhelmingly positive. Overwhelmingly positive. And one of the reasons why people feel good about it not being as strong as it was before is they believe that the Fed's going to respond.
They hope they're going to get a rate cut.
Yeah.
I do want to go a little bit more into this part, guys. If you don't know what everyone's praying for, it's low interest rates, right? But there's a flip side to it. Cheap money means your money is cheap. Your dollar weakens every time these idiots cut interest rates or print more money or engage in more quantitative easing. So great, you can borrow more money now at a cheaper rate. Also great is your dollar is worth less. Just keep that in mind.
Well, but I mean, no president's had the run we've had in terms of creating jobs and bringing down inflation. It was 9% when I came to office.
9% inflation is the big headline here, boys. When Biden took office in 2020, according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, the CPI went up 1.4% from 2019 to 2020.
9%. But look, people have a right to be concerned. Ordinary people, the idea that you bounce a check and you get a $30 fee for bouncing the check might change that. You can't charge more than $8 for that. Or your credit card, your late payment, $35. I mean, there's corporate greed going on out there.
And of course, he follows up with policy talk about letting people write bounce checks and not paying their credit cards on time with a smaller penalty. That's corporate greed, guys, not irresponsible policy or behaviors.
But there's real pain. I mean, grocery prices are up 30%, more than 30%. Since the beginning of the pandemic, and people are spending more on food and groceries than they have at any time really in the past 30 years. I mean, that's a real day-to-day pain that people feel.
It really is, and it's real. But the fact is that if you take a look at what the people have, they have the money to spend.
Amazing, folks. If you have the money, you should spend it on astronomically inflated groceries. This is how out of touch this decrepit stuffed doll is.
The whole idea of this notion that Senator Casey talked about, shrinkflation. I think it's on your
Same
program.
price for a smaller bottle of juice
well,
or something.
For example, Snickers bar, they did a thing, and it's like 20% less for the same price. That's corporate greed. That's corporate greed.
He does bring up shrinkflation here, which is a thing. And again, saying it twice means it's the opposite. I'm not sure what he thinks happens when you tax a business into oblivion, but shrinkflation is something that these companies are trying to do to survive without raising the price directly. I don't really think it's honest, but that's why these companies are doing this. Most of the remainder of the interview is spent regarding the conflict in Israel and Gaza. It's not that I don't care about these topics, but my personal opinion is we shouldn't be involved in anything over there. And until I do more personal research on the geopolitical situation over there, I'll leave it to the rest of YouTube to handle. Again, guys, feel free to watch the entire interview yourself. It's entertaining, scary, funny, and cringy all at once. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.